Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. And we do have a lot of good stuff to talk about here today. Robert Meyer Burnett is not here again today. Of course, you guys know he's been working on an indie film. Things come up. So he notified me late last night that he was not going to be able to make it in today. He sends his apologies, but we will again, of course, see him on Monday. So like a traditional Friday, it's just going to be you and me talking about all this good stuff going on. I had a busy day yesterday. Incredibly busy day yesterday. That was capped off by going to a double feature last night. Yes, last night, I went to a double feature. I went to go see Ad Astra, and I went to go see Rambo. So let's talk about Ad Astra first. All right. So here's my thoughts on Ad Astra. Now, you guys know I've been talking about this film for a while, and I've been excited about it. I've been excited to see Ad Astra, and I thought the trailers looked pretty interesting, all that kind of stuff, and I went to it. And coming out of Ad Astra, sorry. Just whenever I say Ad Astra, I just naturally start to fall asleep. It is one of the most unrelentingly boring films I've seen in a long, long time. Now, here's the funny thing about Ad Astra. Ad Astra is a movie. What do a lot of movies sometimes lack? They lack a high sense of stakes in the movie. Are the stakes high? Do they go deeper than the general premise? Like, the general premise, okay, he's got to go out into space and find his dad. But does the movie go deeper than that? This movie goes deeper. The whole movie is about asking important questions, both on a universal level. Brad Pitt is constantly throughout the film and through his father as well, asking these galactic level questions. But also he struggles with very personal questions. And it does an interesting thing about juxtaposing his asking questions about the greater universe and how that then reflects on his questions about himself and his own person and his own personal life. And they go deep. And that's great, but you still got to put it inside a package that delivers. And I just found that this thing was unrelentingly difficult to watch because it was just so dull. It was so dull. Now listen, you know me. I'm not the type of guy. I mean, Booksmart is my favorite film of the year. I don't need explosions, bang, boom, beam to make a movie enjoyable. I don't need that. I never have. I mean, it's great when it's done right, but that doesn't have to be there to make a movie enjoyable. But I kid you not, the entire movie, Brad Pitt, and his performance is great. I bought into the character, but the character was hard to watch because I kid you not, every single line of dialogue was kind of like this. I got up this morning and I made my toast. My heart rate is 67 beats per minute. I masturbated in the shower and then watched a very thrilling football game. And now I'm going into space. Every line in the movie is said that way. I mean, and there's a part in the movie where he goes like, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've often been angry when I should have been calm, something like that. I'm like, dude, you've never been angry. At least you've never shown it, because I'm not seeing any of it in here. And then the most thrilling part of the movie was the thing they showed in some of the previews and in the clips they put out, the space buggy scene on the moon, right? Like, that looked exciting. But here's the thing about that scene. I guarantee you that scene was put in reshoots. You know why? Because that scene was completely unnecessary. I'm not going to give anything away except to say this. When you go to see Ad Astra, come out and think about this. If you took that entire scene out of the movie, does it change anything about the movie? Nope. And I wish, this is not a spoiler review, so I wish I could go into it in more detail, but I can't. Other than say, that entire space buggy was a total waste of time. It had nothing to do with the movie. It had nothing to do with the story. It had nothing to do with something that happened just before it. Nothing to do with what happens after it. If you took that entire scene out of the movie, I challenge any of you who have seen this, if you take that entire scene out of the movie, You don't miss it one bit. It doesn't change anything about the movie. I'm guaranteeing you. I mean, I don't know this for fact. I'm just speculating. But as a speculation, I guarantee you that was one of the things put in reshoots because they just looked at this movie and said, this is a really slow, dull movie that's asking the right questions and philosophically has a really neat angle to it. But you got to put something in there to get people excited. All right, how about a space buggy fight and chase? And then they put that in there. Again, a terrific performance by Brad. He had me buying into the character completely. High stakes, asking great philosophical, deep questions, but you still have to do that while putting it all in a container of an entertaining film. And this I just found was dry and dull and boring the whole way through. Now, I know a number of people who love this film. As a matter of fact, this is one of those movies that's getting very divided reviews between critics and verified audiences. The critics are giving it an 82. A lot of people are liking this movie. The verified audience score is sitting at 59, which means there's still a lot of people that like it. And I know a lot of you guys were messaging me last night saying that you really liked Ad Astra, and that's fantastic. I wish I liked Ad Astra. I wish I liked it. I do. High concept, great idea, a terrific star, giving a good performance, making you buy into the character. It's just that the character was so insufferably dull. I'm not kidding. I almost walked out. Not because it's a terrible movie, but because it was insufferably dull. I just about walked out. And that's weird because normally when a lot of the critics like it, normally I like it too because it means, but this is just one I can't agree with most people. I think this is a movie that is much better in concept than it is in execution. And if you're one of the people that watched it and liked it, I don't mean to take anything away from your enjoyment. That's awesome. I wish I had your experience. But I didn't, and Ad Astra is just not one I'm going to recommend, but I wouldn't dissuade people from seeing it because, like I said, a lot of other people are seeing it and they're enjoying it. And that's great. But here's the other funny thing. Starring Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler has one scene with dialogue. The rest of the movie, you just see her. Like there's images of her and you see her and she's in a scene or two, but she doesn't speak. And then there's one scene where she actually speaks. But anyway, whatever. Question is, what did you guys think about Ad Astra for those of you who have seen it? Did you really enjoy it like a lot of the critics do? Did you find it a little dull like me? Did you hate it? I mean, what did you think about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. Next up, another film that I went to go see last night was Rambo Last Blood. Now, I've loved the trailers for Rambo Last Blood because to me, they kind of had a little bit of a Logan feel to it. You know what I mean? And it felt like this movie was going to get back to the roots of First Blood, the original Rambo movie, which is magnificent and so totally different from all the other Rambo films that came after it. So off I go to see Rambo. What did I think of Rambo? Well, I'll tell you this. This is not a great movie. This is not a great movie. A lot of logic holes, some very cheesy dialogue, some things that happen to go, really? Would that have actually happened? A lot of that. But I will say this about it. It is a movie. Rambo is a movie. And I said this in my quick review coming out of the theater last night. Rambo is to me a movie of simple pleasures. Rambo is a movie of simple pleasures. And what I mean by that is this. The simple pleasure of getting to see the hero do really bad, awful things to really bad, awful people. There's something viscerally satisfying as an audience member when we see really bad people on screen and then watching a hero do very bad things to them. There's something viscerally satisfying about that. And what this movie does, and in order for that to work, for us to gain that enjoyment of watching the good guy do very bad things to very bad people, we as an audience first have to have any empathy with the villains disconnected. We've got to see them as less than human. We've got to see them as totally worth getting whatever it is the hero's going to visit upon them, you know? And in John Wick, for example, the first John Wick film, They had to do that in John Wick as well, because John Wick was going to be a movie about him murdering a lot of people, and they had to convince the audience that everything John Wick's about to do to the bad guys got coming. So what did they do? They killed the puppy. They spent the first act of the movie just showing the audience, these guys deserve everything John Wick's going to give them later, folks. And sure enough, when John Wick starts killing everybody in the audience is like, yeah, you puppy killer. Well, the same kind of principle, and Rambo Last Blood is not as good as John Wick, but the same principle applies here. They spend the first couple of acts of the movie really making us hate the bad guys, just like they do in John Wick. They made us really, really hate the bad guys. And by setting that up, when we get to the third act of the film, that is all John J. Rambo visiting unbelievable grief and pain and suffering upon those bad guys. Instead of us going, hey, maybe the hero's going a little bit over the top, we're all like, yeah, you do that to them, Rambo. You know, that's where we're at. So it's much like John Wick in that way. Is this movie as good as First Blood? No. I was really hoping it would be getting back to First Blood. It's not. Is this movie the Logan of the Rambo series? No, it's not. Is this movie great? No, it's not. However, I will say there is something of a simplistic pleasure that comes out of Rambo because we get to see the hero do unspeakable things to unspeakably bad people. And again, on a visceral level, there's something satisfying about that. And the theater I was in last night, when you get into the third act, there was a lot of hooping and hollering and cheering in the theaters. Now, again, I could not fault anybody who watches Rambo Last Blood and doesn't like it, because there are problems with it. This is not a great movie. It's not. But it's satisfying. You walk out of the theater going, yeah, you know what I mean? Anyway, what did you guys think about Rambo Last Blood? For those of you who've had a chance to see it already, jump down into the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. Hey, listen, guys, one more thing we're going to cover here before we get into our main topics today. And this is just a little funny side thing. You know, one of the great stereotypes in Hollywood is, you know, the guy gets the girl at the end, the hero dies, whatever. In a Marvel film, if a hero dies, you know they're coming back. A lot of things. But one of the great stereotypes in Hollywood is poor Sean Bean. If Sean Bean is going to be in a movie, Sean Bean is going to die, right? It's just understood. Well, I came across an interesting story this morning as I was going through the news feeds about how Sean Bean has actually purposefully been turning down roles that his character dies. He's been specifically turning them down. And it hasn't been because he's full of himself. It's like, no, my character can't die. No, it's not because of that. He explains. He said the following. He said, I've turned down stuff. I've said, they know my character's going to die because I'm in it. I just had to cut that out and start surviving. Otherwise, it was all a bit predictable. So, like, at first, when I read a headline that said, Sean Bean refusing to be in movies where he dies, I thought, well, that's kind of egotistical of him. Isn't that a little diva-ish of him? But then when I read his statement, I remember thinking to myself, well, actually, you know what? That makes perfect sense. Because he's thinking out for the audience, because it's true. Come on. There have been years where if Sean Bean's in something, we just kind of naturally assume he dies, right? So for him to come out and say, you know what, I just had to start avoiding those, not because I'm a diva and I don't like dying. His Boromir death scene is one of my favorite scenes in movie history, by the way. It's just because, hey, look, I just don't want a movie to become predictable and have everybody already know what's going to happen to me and my character. And so I got to start picking some roles where my guy lives at the end, which I thought was really rather interesting. Again, I see nothing diva-ish about that. I think that actually makes perfect sense. Not a lot of other actors in Hollywood could say that and have it not come across as being a diva. But in Sean Bean's case, I actually think the dude's got a point. What do you think about what Sean Bean said? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down out of the way, let's move on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them by going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. When you guys get there, fill out the form with your topic or question. And guys, listen to me. It says right on the form, keep it to 90 words or less. I got to say this at least once. A lot of you guys are writing in theses. You're writing in your thesis for your doctorate or something. You're sending in these things that are this long, and I ain't going to read them because even if I wanted to use them, I can't fit them on the screen. Please follow the instructions when you do that and keep it to 90 words or less. At any rate, when you get to that site, you'll see the form, fill it out, 90 words or less, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. And listen, before we get rolling into it, a couple things you guys can do right now. Make sure you click that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to the John Campea YouTube channel. If you like these videos and these sorts of discussions, whether you agree or disagree, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up and make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below. Or if you want your comment or question read on the show, go ahead and use the super chat feature. It's a great way to ensure that your question gets answered in a video, and it's a way to support the channel at the same time. And I thank all of you guys who take advantage of that. Okay, with that down, let's get into main topic number one. And our first main topic today gets sent in to us from David Hassan. I knew a guy named David. I never heard the name before, and now this is the second time I've heard it. Anyway, David writes, World War Z was a movie I just loved. It always bothered me that they never did another one. Just wondering if you saw Brad Pitt talk about it and saying the sequel was going to be amazing. Don't you think they should have moved forward and made another one, especially if the script and idea were so good? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And you know what? World War Z is a movie I ended up quite liking. Now, you got to remember, in today's age, and really, it's just the last 5-6 years, movies going in for reshoots don't mean anything now. Like every big major blockbuster film plans reshoots before they even start shooting the movie. Kevin Feige's talked about that. They always plan reshoots because they get to, once they see the edit coming together, they've already booked time and planned to go in and do a couple things that they think might improve it because they've got the budget for it. But there was a day only a few years ago where it was unheard of for a movie to go in for reshoots because it costs too much money. It would push the movie way over budget. And if it was going in for reshoots, that meant everything was a mess. Well, World War Z was one of those films that everything was turning out to be such a disaster and nobody liked what they were coming up with that they went back and reshot 3/4 of the movie. And it turned out to be the best thing they ever did because that movie ended up being pretty damn good. I'm not going to say it's one of the all-time great movies, but it turned out being pretty damn good. It made over $500 million at the box office, ended up being profitable when they could have turned out to be a pretty big disaster. And I've always liked it. So, of course, they talked about maybe doing another one. And then it just fell off the rails. The director backed out, all this kind of stuff. And it sounds like even Brad Pitt has moved on from it now. Looks like we're not going to get a World War Z 2. I mean, never say never, but for all intents and purposes, right now, it sounds like it's not going to happen. But Pitt was talking about it, and he said the following. We had a really good story, which he, talking about the director, David Fitch, which he shepherded. Really strong story. The things he had planned for it just hadn't been seen yet. I'm sure he'll get it out on something else, writes Brad Pitt, which almost sounds a little bit defeating. And of course, Brad Pitt made these statements while he's been out promoting Ad Astra, understandably so. He's been out promoting Ad Astra and doing that. Again, that's too bad. Now, you do raise the question, shouldn't they have just made another one anyway? Yeah, but we don't know what went on behind the scenes. We don't know what ultimately led to the director, the star, the producer going, we've got to pull the plug on this. I mean, for a while, it was because the director's also doing Mindhunter. For a while, the story was, we'll get around to World War Z 2 after Mindhunter Season 2. But Mindhunter Season 2's production came and went. It's even aired. It's been out for a while. And then they ultimately just then said, it's not happening. The real reasons why will probably remain a mystery for a while. But I know I was looking forward to it. And hearing Brad Pitt talk about that, the dude had a great idea. He had a great story and he was going to do things that we've never seen done before. it just makes me even more sad that we're not going to see World War Z 2. Now, I know not all of you guys loved World War Z, and that's understandable. All films subjective, not everything's for everybody. But I, for one, quite enjoyed it, and I was really hoping for another one. And hearing this statement from Brad Pitt just kind of rubs salt in the old wound, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, what do you guys think about Brad Pitt's statements? Do you think they should have just gone ahead and made another one anyway? Or are you like, I didn't really like the first one all that much. No big loss if they don't do one. What do you think? Jump into the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets sent in to us from Reed Foreman, who writes, "Hello, John. I was curious if you heard the reports of a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie in development. It's said to be a direct sequel to the original, which has already been tried and failed horribly with the 2013 Texas Chainsaw movie. However, what gets me excited is that Don't Breathe director Fede Alvarez is said to be attached as a producer. Your thoughts?" All right, thanks a lot for that question, man. And listen, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, particularly amongst the genre hardcores, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the more celebrated IPs and titles in all of canonical history of the genre of horror. People love the Chainsaw Massacre. It's one of those movies where even if you've never seen it, you've heard of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Everybody's heard of it. Even if you've never seen it, it's got that kind of cult status, you know? Anyway, they've done a number of Texas Chainsaws over the years and all that kind of stuff. But right now, we're living in an era where old classics are getting sequels done that completely ignore all the other films that came before it other than the original. We see that coming right now with Terminator, the new Terminator film. It ignores all the Terminators after Terminator 2. So this is the sequel to Terminator 2, ignoring everything else before it. We obviously last year had Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis. That ignored all the other Halloween sequels and iterations and reboots, ignored all of it, and was just a true spiritual sequel to the original film. That worked out pretty well for them. I've never liked a Halloween film until that film. I love this new film. I love it. So now they're looking at it and saying, well, hell, why don't we try that with Texas Chainsaw Massacre? And why not indeed, especially if you get Fede Alvarez on board to do it. This comes to us from a report from Bloody Disgusting, who writes, Fede Alvarez, director of Evil Dead and Don't Breathe. I love Don't Breathe. I love that movie. With Stephen Lang, love that film. Anyway, is producing for Henkel and Legendary. To clarify, this is not meant as a directing vehicle for Alvarez, who is seeking a filmmaker to attach to the project. While plans aren't set in stone, we're hearing that the hope is to make a direct sequel to Hooper's 74 film, similar to what Blumhouse and Universal have done with Halloween, and of course what they're doing with Terminator right now. So we're not going to get Alvarez directing, and that's a shame, but he is coming on board to shepherd it as a producer, and he's going to get a filmmaker and attach it to it that hopefully will be in line with whatever vision he has. And look, who is directing a film is always more important than who's producing it, but who is producing it will set the direction. And to bring a guy like Alvarez on, who did such a magnificent job with Don't Breathe, I think this is a great idea. Now that brings up the basic philosophical question again of what do we feel about these movies that ignore the previous sequels, that ignore the previous reboots and iterations, and just kind of claim themselves as a sequel to the original film, whatever decades ago. Listen, it worked great for Halloween. Now, it may or may not work with Terminator. But if it doesn't work because of Terminator, it won't be because they tried to make it a sequel to Terminator 2. It'll be because they didn't make a good movie. And maybe they made a great one. We'll have to wait and see. But I think we've already seen and established, and we have precedents now with the new Halloween movie, that you can indeed do this. And it can work. You know, I remember when the new Halloween film was coming out, a lot of people asked the question, well, isn't this going to confuse the audience? Isn't this going to confuse the audience? If you're ignoring all the other sequels that came out and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be confusing to the audience. You know what? I never heard from one person saying that they were in the least confused about Halloween when that came out. I think the principle is sound. And when you have a property that's as iconic and has such a cult following and is so well known as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, why not take a swing at bat at it? Now look, I'm not saying this thing's going to be great. I don't know. I have no idea. But I think it's worth taking a shot at. Why not? See what happens. There's been some success with it. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But I think there's enough there at least to take a swing at the bat. Question is, what do you guys think about this whole concept about going back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, about making it a sequel to the original? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets sent in to us from Tyron M, who writes, "Sup, John? I near lost my mind when they said they're doing a She-Hulk show on Disney+. I've got no idea who will play her, but Brooklyn Nine-Nine star Stephanie Beatrice said she'd love to do it, and that's just fine with me. Who do you think they should cast as She-Hulk? Bring on that filthy." All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Tyron. And yes, so for those of you who watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I will confess I am not a Brooklyn Nine-Nine viewer, so I've seen a couple of episodes and all that kind of stuff. But yes, the star of Brooklyn Nine-Nine did come out and say that she would love to do it. This is what she said. Brooklyn Nine-Nine star Stephanie, this is from Joe Blow, Stephanie Beatrice recently expressed her enthusiasm to suit up as the "you wouldn't like me when I'm angry" lawyer and superhero. While speaking with Entertainment Tonight, Beatrice excitedly told the outlet, "I would die to play that role." She then added, "That's so flattering. That is one of the best characters in that universe. I would die to play that role," which in, newsflash, actor says they want working role in popular movie. Shock. I still find it hilarious that people make it news. Actor says they would like acting job. Really? That's so shocking to me. Like, I just don't get how these are news stories. Actress, little known actress, says she would love a big role in a big franchise. Run the headlines. I don't see why that's considered any sort of a big deal in any way, shape, or form. And listen, to me, I honestly don't do the which actor should play which role. I don't do those. I mean, you guys know, because I don't care. All I want is a talented actor or actress to play the role. As long as you get a talented actor or actress, I'm fine. I have no problem. So I'm not going to get into the who should play She-Hulk. I'm not going to get into that because, first of all, you have no idea what type of character they're going for. You don't know how they're going to make her in this show. Are they going to make her really super outgoing and funny? Are they going to make her a little more Ally McBeal-ish where she's funny but also a little bit introverted at the same time? Is she going to be super, is she going to be sarcastic? Is she not going to be sarcastic? We just don't know. So I just don't like getting into that game of this person should play this role when I don't even know what this role specifically is calling for. I just want to see a talented actor or actress. But I think the discussion that we can have in talking about She-Hulk is what kind of actress should they go and get? What kind of actress should they go and get for something like a She-Hulk? Now, there has been a terrifying rumor going around, and it's not substantiated, thank goodness, but everybody's still spreading this around. There's been this terrifying rumor going around that they were looking at Ronda Rousey to play She-Hulk, which I am a fan of Ronda Rousey. I like Ronda Rousey. I think she's great. I would love to hang out with Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey cannot act. Ronda Rousey is not an actress. That's no insult. I'm no actor. So it's fine. She's not an actress. You want to put Ronda Rousey in little cameo roles or little roles that she's either playing herself. By the way, I liked her in the Entourage movie because she was just playing herself and it was a small role, and that was fine. I enjoyed her in that. I liked her little bit part in the Fast and Furious movie because it was small. She didn't speak a lot and she was using her physical combat to do it, and that's fine. But to make somebody a lead character, you need somebody who is a thespian. You need somebody who can carry a project on their shoulders and convince us all. Be a Brad Pitt who's in a movie I didn't like, but I could still admire the performance they gave. And Ronda Rousey isn't that. She's not that. That's a terrible idea. Absolutely terrible. What kind of actress you need to go out and get for a She-Hulk is going to be strongly dependent upon, how is She-Hulk going to be portrayed? How is she going to be portrayed? Are you going to do the old Lou Ferrigno thing where you're just going to get a girl and put her in green body paint? Are you going to do her CGI? Is she, as she has been at times, always going to be in She-Hulk form? Or is she more the Banner route, going to be a character that can transform back and forth between regular human form and Hulk form? Which would make the show a lot cheaper, by the way, because if you could have your actress 3/4 of an episode in regular form and then 1/4 of the episode as the She-Hulk, that becomes a little bit cheaper and easier to make, doesn't it? So while a lot of people are trying to come up with these things of who's a big, strong actress, I got to tell you, I don't think my mind's going that direction, because I have a feeling, and I don't know this, and I could be way wrong, but I have a feeling they're going to go the back and forth route, that she's human Hulk, human Hulk, human Hulk. I think they're going to go that way, just because from a logistical point of view, it's a lot easier to do it, and it makes it a lot cheaper to do it too. But then you can actually get a real actress playing the role. And if you're going to have She-Hulk transform back and forth, then it doesn't matter that you get an actress who's big and strong and bulky, right? This Dr. Banner ain't big and strong and bulky, but he turns into the Hulk, and then that's where they carry it on for. So that's another thing. By going back and forth, it gives you options for just get really talented actresses, because they're going to be playing themselves, and then they can do mocap for whenever they're going to be She-Hulk. That makes it a lot better. So I think we can throw out the window this notion of, in looking for the kind of actress to play She-Hulk, it's got to be some big athletic looking girl. It doesn't have to be, because I don't think they're going to do the Lou Ferrigno body paint. It can be just a normal sized actress, and you go for pure talent on that part. I'd also look for an actress who is really good at a lot of emoting. And by that, that's just another way of me saying I want them to have a bit of charisma. Now, not all lead actresses or actors or all lead roles need a lot of charisma in the lead role character. But I feel like with a She-Hulk, you at least need somebody that can carry that on-camera charm. She's got to charm us. She's got to have that quirky. She's got to have big personality. So I'm going to be looking for an actress that does that. So I don't think it needs to be a big athletic actress. I don't think it needs to be an athlete. I do want somebody that's maybe not necessarily Shakespearean, but somebody who brings a lot of natural charm and charisma to a screen so she can hold it and really convey that type of a character. So that's what I'm looking for. And oddly enough, if you want to look at the girl from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, she does that, so she could be one of them. But there's probably a good 30 or 40 actresses that would fall into that. So again, right now, I'm more into the zone of, I'm curious about what kind of actress they should get than which actress they should get specifically. Question is for you guys, how are you thinking about She-Hulk right now? Do you've got a type of actress they should put in the role? Hell, maybe you're one of these people that you do have a particular actress in mind that you really want to see playing this role. What do you guys think? Jump down to the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 4. And our fourth main topic today gets sent in to us from our friend Jonathan W., who writes, "Hi, John. Love this show." Thank you so much, Jonathan. Thanks for all you do. I was late to The Office and have been binging it. Oh, God, I love The Office so much. It's hilarious. Most of my laughs are because of the show is just great, but also because there are things they say that I can't see how they could get away with without offending someone. Can they get away with the same humor, or do you think they'll change it? And if they do change it, do you think it'll actually work? Thank you. All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, Jonathan. And for those of you who might be behind a day or two on what's going on, you know, NBC Universal, Peacock, has their streaming service coming out, right? We already know Battlestar Galactica is going to be one of those shows. We already know a brand new Saved by the Bell is going to be one of the shows. But one of the executives said that they really are targeting and that they want to do is a relaunch of The Office. They want to get The Office going again, not a reboot, but a relaunch. Get the gang back together again and do a relaunch of The Office, which to me is like opening up the heavens and going, I would love that. I would love that. Now, what's interesting is one of the questions that I've had coming in, not just from you, Jonathan W., but also I've had this come in on open mics and things like that as well, has been the question of, in a politically correct environment, can a show like The Office even work today? You know, they did a lot of stuff on The Office that was really uncomfortable in all the best ways. And that was really pushing the boundaries and really kind of edgy and all that kind of stuff. And that's true. Can you, I've had a lot of people asking me, do that sort of humor that is in the DNA of The Office? Can you do that in today's environment? To which my reply is, are you under the mistaken impression that The Office was done in 1982? Perhaps that it was done in 1979? Or hell, that it was done in 1989? This was a movie this was a show that was on air just a few years ago. Like, lest we forget, the political environment today, at least as far as PC culture and all that kind of stuff goes, is not all that different from what it was 6 or 7 years ago, which is when The Office was on, by the way. And the thing is, it is the way that The Office handled that material that was so utterly brilliant and always made us feel so brilliantly uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. There are many times in The Office that Michael Scott does something that makes me so uncomfortable, I literally have to get up and walk out of the room. But I mean that in all of the most awesome ways. It's like, oh my God, like Scott's Tots. Oh my God. Scott's Tots, I get so uncomfortable. I get so uncomfortable that there are so many. I've seen that episode like 6 or 7 times. At least 5 times out of those, I've had to get up and walk out of the room until certain scenes were done because it's so uncomfortable. But I mean that in the best possible way. It's not just what they did on the show, it's how they did it. That was hilarious, yet profound, insightful, yet wacky. It was all of that at once. Like, as much as The Office comes across as a slapstick sort of show, there is incredible intelligence behind each and every episode and each and every gag that they do. And again, my answer to what a lot of people are asking, could you even do a show like that in today's culture, is this show was just on a few years ago. And everybody was complaining, oh, this culture, this was like 7 years ago. This is such a PC culture, can't do anything. And yet that's when The Office was on. So my answer to that is, look, we don't know if they're going to actually get around to doing The Office. I don't think this executive is going to talk about it publicly unless they already know they're going to do it. But can you do it and maintain the DNA of the show? I absolutely believe you can. I absolutely 100% believe you can. This was not a show from the mid-1980s. This was just a few years ago, and things have not changed that much. So I would say yes. Question is, what do you guys think? Do you think you could still do The Office today and still maintain that key DNA of the show that it used to have that made it so popular? Or do you think that times really have changed a lot in just a couple of years, and no, the things you did on The Office just a few years ago, you couldn't do today? I think they can. What do you think? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to the 5th and final main topic today. And our 5th and final main topic today gets sent in to us from one of our Patreon supporters, Steven Rosa. And by the way, that reminds me, guys, for those of you who are Patreon supporters and you use our Discord server, just so you know, there is something came up for me. We are not going to have a post-show chat today because, this week we've been doing post-show, like after the show's been done, we've been doing post-show live chats over on the Discord server. Not just to give you guys a heads up, that's not going to be happening today, but it will return on Monday, so don't worry about it. It will be back then. Anyway, with that down, let's get back to the question. Patreon supporter Steven Rosa, and thank you for being a Patreon supporter, Steven. You probably meant been. It's been confirmed that Tom Welling will be on Crisis on Infinite Earths, returning in the role as Superman from the Smallville series. How excited are you? I'm a true Smallville fan and own all the seasons. It got me through 4 tours of duty in Afghanistan and Iraq, so naturally, this is a fan dream come true for me. And yeah, this is actually news that broke right near the end of the John Campea Show yesterday. That Tom Welling from Smallville is indeed coming back to reprise the role of Clark Kent in the upcoming CW crossover event, Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is what we've got from Deadline. And then there were 3. Tom Welling is set to reprise his Smallville role as Clark Kent in the CW's upcoming DC Arrowverse crossover, joining two other actors who have played the Man of Steel, Tyler Hoechlin, who I've never know if I'm saying his name correctly, and Brandon Routh, are already set to portray the character in the crossover. All right, so I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't think this was going to happen. I really didn't. Now, we had heard that Tom Welling had already previously denied that he was going to be, coming back in the role for a CW thing. We had heard that before. And to me, it seemed like, well, you already got two different Supermen in it. We got Brandon Routh. We got the guy who's currently playing Superman in Supergirl. So, yeah, it makes sense. He's not going to be there. And people would ask me and say, John, do you think maybe we're going to get Tom Welling back in the CW thing? And I would say, nah. He's got no interest to come back and play this before. He said that. Plus, they've already got two Supermen. Nah, not going to see Tom Welling back. Then the news hits. He's coming back. Now, it should be noted, what was also written in that Deadline article is that they have not confirmed that he's going to don the Superman outfit. Right now, the terminology they're using is they're saying he's coming back as Clark Kent. They're not necessarily saying he's going to be Superman. And they're not necessarily saying we're going to see him in the Superman outfit. Maybe we will. It's not saying we won't. It just highlights in there that right now we don't know. All we know for sure is that he's coming back at least as Clark Kent. But at that point, whatever. Now we got three different Supermen that are going to be in the CW crossover. Am I excited about this? You know what? No. I'm not excited. But am I against it? Nope. Am I intrigued? I got to admit I'm at least a little bit intrigued. Because I'll tell you what, Tom Welling recently popped back up on our television screens in not this last season of Lucifer, but the season before that. He was in the full season of Lucifer playing Cain of the Cain and Abel brothers. He was Cain, the world's longest living mortal. He played in that, and he was great in it. And it was really nice to see Tom Welling back on screen in a regular role, and I thought he was great in Lucifer. I really did. I thought he was terrific in it. So coming off the heels of that, it is kind of nice to see he's coming back to... Look, even though I got to say myself, I'm not overly super excited about it because I think you've already got two Supermen in there. This just feels like they're sacrificing story just to throw in as much stuff as they possibly can and put in as much fan service as they can, which God bless you if that's what you're doing. But listen, I like Smallville like everybody else. I like Smallville. And after seeing him on Lucifer, I got to admit, I'm at least intrigued to see him come back and play this and to see what they've got in mind for this whole thing. I will say this, though. I am getting concerned about this series because, again, to me, it doesn't seem like they're building this crossover event on story. They're building it on throwing everything in the kitchen sink into it as possible. Put as much fan service into it as possible. Who cares what it does to story? Like, we got Kevin Conroy coming in as Bruce Wayne. We got three different Supermen. They just throwing all this fan service stuff in there. And a lot of times that comes at the cost of good story. So who knows? We'll have to see. But I know a lot of people, considering the popularity of Smallville, I know a lot of people are going to be pretty damn excited about Tom Welling coming back to play it. And even I've got to say, I'm at least a little bit intrigued by it. So question is, guys, what do you think about the news of Tom Welling coming back to reprise the role of Clark Kent? Are you excited about it? Do you not care? Did you never watch Smallville? Is this the greatest news in the world to you? What do you think? Jump down to the comment section below and leave me your thoughts. All right, guys. With all of that stuff down and out of the way, we're going to take time now and move on to your live questions. But before we get over to the live questions, I'm going to take just a couple of a minute break here, give myself a chance to stretch the legs, rest the vocal cords, refill my drink, and all that good stuff. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Hang tight. I'll see you guys in just a minute. All right, guys, and we are back. Thank you so much for indulging me as we took a little bit of a break there. Now, let's take the rest of the show and dive in and take the stuff you guys want to talk about. Do you got something you want to say about any of the topics we talked about here today? Got a question? Go ahead, use the super chat feature. We're going to jump over there right now and start taking your questions. We're going to start things off here with Echo Base Network, who writes, seems you were disappointed with Ad Astra and got what you thought you would out of Rambo. What would you say now to people choosing between the two? It's tough, because here's the thing. Whether I like a movie or not, I always balance that out against what does everybody else think about it. See, the fact of the matter is, if somebody were to come up to me and say, should I go see Ad Astra? I would be honest with them and say, I didn't like the film. However, you probably should go see it because a lot of other people are saying that they do enjoy it. My experience just wasn't great with it. I personally found it really boring, but a lot of other people are. So I actually ended up enjoying Rambo a little bit more than I did Ad Astra. So I guess it would depend on who was asking me. If I got a buddy of mine who's just all into the action films and stuff like that, I might say, yeah, you should go see Rambo. If I know somebody who's like just really like into Kubrick films and wants something a little bit deeper and stuff like that, I might, even though I didn't like it, I might say to them, you know what, you should probably go check out Ad Astra. So it depends on the person who's asking, man. All right, Nathan Oswald writes, I don't care about the Rotten Tomatoes critics of Rambo 5 because Rambo 2, 3, and 4 all have less than 42% and they're all great. Well, yeah, that's a subjective matter. That is a subjective matter. Whether they're great or not is up to the individual palate. I don't know that I would call them great. I think certainly they all have an element of fun to them. I don't know that I call any of them great movies, but that's just me. You would, and there you go. Okay, Adam Henson writes, top 10, Dark Crystal. I love Dark Crystal. RoboCop, 87 version. Terminator 2, The Fly, 1986, which was a reboot, by the way. Saving Private Ryan, Jaws, Hacksaw Ridge. You know, by the way, it does my heart good to see how many of you guys are putting Hacksaw Ridge on that list. That was a movie, Andrew Garfield, directed by Mel Gibson, that it did get nominated for Best Picture. I thought there was a strong argument that maybe it should have won Best Picture, but I think that was a brilliantly profound, almost perfectly done movie. I'm so glad to see so many of you guys putting that on there. Anyway, Iron Giant, Lord of the Rings trilogy, and The Green Mile. Hold my hand, boss. That's one that's come up once or twice, surprisingly so. Anyway, thanks for sharing your list, Adam. All right, next up, Nathan Oswald writes, to me, the best autistic performance is Claire Danes as Temple Grandin. Boy, I'm a little bit in love with Claire Danes, and I don't even remember which one of those, which movie that character's from, to be honest with you. Luke1234 writes, top 5. Number 1, RoboCop. Number 2, Batman. Number 3, Jurassic Park. Number 4, 40-Year-Old Virgin, my all-time number 1 favorite comedy. And number 5, Hellraiser 2. Okay, I will raise a glass to the first time Hellraiser 2 ever been mentioning. I mean, it's funny. That movie was mentioned on the show. I think it was like last week, Robert Meyer Burnett brought it up for something disconnected. But I know nobody's put Hellraiser 2 on their top 5 or 10 list, Luke. So raise the glass to you, sir, for being the first one to put that one out there. All right. Sidious Swift writes, wanted to say thanks for the show and throw my 1 to 5 picks in. Blade Runner 2049, Apocalypse Now, nice. Heat, nice. Training Day, and Lord of the Rings, all solid picks. And you know what? It's funny. We talked a little bit ago about how I actually don't like any Halloween movie until this new one came out. For those of you who've watched me for a while, you know this. I actually don't like the original Blade Runner. Are are you allowed to not like the original Blade Runner? I don't know, but I wish I liked it so I could be cool like everybody else, but I don't like the original Blade Runner. But oddly enough, I really dig Blade Runner 2049. I dig that film a lot, Sidious. So anyway, thank you, Sidious, for sharing that and for throwing that in there. I appreciate that. All right. Heroes Fans Productions writes, well, I guess it's time to blast the good old Smallville theme. Okay, I'm so glad you said this, Heroes. And for those of you Patreon supporters who are listening to the audio-only podcast of this, I should finish reading what he wrote. I guess it's time for me to blast the good old Smallville theme song everywhere I go now. Somebody save me, so pumped. I was going to say, and I forgot to bring it up. Don't lie. Don't lie. Look at me straight in the eyes. Okay? Don't lie. At least 30% of you, when you read the news that Tom Welling was coming back as Clark Kent, at least 1 out of every 3 of you started singing that damn song. Somebody save me. And you didn't care who was around. You just started singing it out loud. Don't lie. I know you did it. I even did it. I read that and I just like reading the news and I'm like, somebody save me. Seriously, I did it. I know you did too. Don't lie. I think a lot of people did, Heroes. You and I are not alone in that, buddy. All right, and everybody else who says they didn't are liars. Lying liars are turning this into a house of lies. Anyway, let's see. Isaac Beebe writes, Rambo Last Blood equals Taken meets Home Alone. I don't see any Home Alone in there. There's a little bit of Taken. There's a little bit of Taken in that, no doubt. I mean, you could tell that from the trailers, right? But like I said, I don't see any Home Alone in there myself personally. All right. Nathan Oswald writes, what's the difference between Bollywood and Indian cinema? I am not the right guy to ask. I don't really know. My guess, and it's purely a guess, is that not all Indian cinema is Bollywood. Bollywood is, there's also a style associated with Bollywood that not everything in Indian cinema falls under, and not everything that is Indian cinema can necessarily be called Bollywood. So, but since I am not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, or even at all well versed in Indian cinema, I am the wrong guy to ask, unfortunately. But that would seem to me to be what the difference is. But that's just me. James Dixon writes, hey, John, I love Tom Ellis's Lucifer. Me too, buddy. But I've been rewatching Supernatural and I forgot how good Pellegrino is as Lucifer in that show. Yeah, he is, but it's a completely different character, right? Like the Lucifer in Supernatural is a totally different character. Like, there's nothing remotely similar between that Lucifer character and the Lucifer character that Tom Ellis plays in Lucifer, which, by the way, for those of you who were not here yesterday for the John Campea Show yesterday, Erin announced, I didn't know she was allowed to announce it or not because she told me a couple days ago, but Erin announced that she is going to be in the final season of Lucifer. Not a regular role, but she's going to be in 1 episode. She's going to be shooting for a couple of days. And that, I just got so happy. So Erin is killing it right now. She's got her new show premiering this Monday on CBS called All Rise. And then, I'm so jealous. She's going to be in Lucifer. She's going to be in the final season of Lucifer. She's actually shooting today. Erin starts shooting her Lucifer spot today, which is really exciting. And then she shoots it for 1 or 2 days next week as well. Anyway. But yeah, I did like him as Lucifer. Absolutely. But again, it's like other than the fact that they both have the same name, Lucifer, they're completely different characters. So I can't really compare them in any way, shape, or form. But you're right. He was very good in that role. All right. Tom Weinberg writes, saw Trainwreck last night. I like that movie. I was expecting a raunchy comedy, which I got, but I was surprised by how much heart it had. Also, Cena was hilarious. Listen, I've been saying for a long time, that was the movie to me. Like, John Cena also had a small part in another little movie that was a little comedic side spot that I went, I don't know that John Cena can act, and I'm still not convinced he can. But, I mean, he's got a good natural sense for comedic timing. Like, when it comes to comedic timing, there's something about John Cena that he just seems to have it naturally. I'm not saying he's the funniest guy in the world, but he seems it just comes so fluidly and naturally to him. And then he was in Trainwreck. And first of all, I very much like that movie. I do. But Cena was really funny. And it all comes down to his just natural sense of humor and his natural sense of comedic timing. It serves him very well. And it served him well in Sisters as well. And so I was excited to see Blockers, which he was the lead in. And I think with Blockers, we learned he wasn't ready to lead a film. And then in Bumblebee, while he was not terrible in Bumblebee, I felt like he's not there yet. I just felt like he's not ready to take on a significant role yet on that level. But I'll tell you what, he's got potential. And when he's doing comedy, again, to me, there's just something that it just comes so naturally and so easy for him that I really enjoy. So that's a good example of that. So anyway, thanks for sending that in, Tom, and I agree with you, dude. All right, Harry Mudd writes, Fantasia is such a classic Disney production. It absolutely is beloved by many, except for my buddy Mark Ellis. Mark Ellis has never liked Fantasia. Yeah, we've had several arguments over that. He's the one guy I know, the only guy I know that does not like Fantasia. Anyway, Ryan Lohner writes, I was looking for a really upbeat Sean Penn film. Milk was a bad choice. Both mixing in a good Anchorman line and a very great truism. Milk is not a good choice for an upbeat Sean Penn film. Matter of fact, there's not a lot of great upbeat there's a lot of great Sean Penn films, but not a lot of great upbeat, feel-good Sean Penn films outside of, Fast Times at Ridgemount High or something like that. But yeah, Milk, wrong choice. Nice way to work in the Anchorman reference there, though. I like that. All right. R Squared Games writes, John, have you seen Top Boy on Netflix? I've never even heard of it, to be honest with you. It's like The Wire, but it takes place in London and Jamaica. Spectacular. Of course, Netflix didn't promote it. Of course they didn't. I never cease to be amazed, R Squared, by all these shows that people tell me are so great, and I've never heard of them. And I'm not what you call a disconnected person, right? I'm on Netflix a lot. I'm reading all my news feeds all the time, blah, blah, blah. And all the time these shows get mentioned and I've never even heard of it. Never even heard of it. My God, they need to do a better job promoting their stuff. So it's like The Wire, but this sounds like a weird pairing. It takes place in London and Jamaica. That's an odd pairing, but all right. Sounds great. Listen, have any of you guys seen this? Honestly, drop me a line or something like that. Let me know if you recommend it or not. And maybe it's something I'll have to put on my list. Thanks for putting it on my radar, R Squared. All right, Harry Mudd writes, I have always loved the score from Thor. Oh, me too. It's so majestic and fitting for the movie. It is. And you know what? This funny thing is, I've always said, Harry, that the score is actually traditionally one of the few things that I think the DC films have traditionally done better than the MCU films. Not every single time, but generally speaking, I think it's something to do better. But there's a few exceptions, and like the score to Black Panther, I thought was fantastic, and I thought the score in Thor was also very good. Harry Mudd also writes, the night is always darkest just before the dawn, but I assure you, the dawn is coming. Harvey Dent, The Dark Knight. I had a discussion about 3 or 4 days ago with a buddy of mine about The Dark Knight. Now, The Dark Knight to me is in my top 3 greatest comic book movies ever made discussion. It is not, however, in my top 10 list. I would go so far, it may not even be in my top 15 or 20. But it's a great film. But we were discussing, my friend who is a lot more into The Dark Knight than I am, and I do love the film, obviously, about all the different ways it bent genres. You know, I'm not going to do his points justice by trying to replicate them all, but he was like, in this way, it was a comedy and did comedy well. In this way, it was an action film and did action well. In this way, it was a mystery and did mystery well. In this way, it was a thriller and did thriller well. In this way, it was dramatic and did drama well. And he went through it all and like, you know, that's a very different way I've ever heard it put before. Like, yeah, it really is profound when you think. There's a lot to that movie, man. There's a lot to that movie, and that's why it is so beloved. And you're seeing it pop up on a bunch of our top 10 lists. All right, Willow Yang writes, I plan on watching the 2004 Battlestar Galactica after I finish Star Trek The Next Generation and DS9. Should I see the original series as well? That's a good question. First of all, completely endorse watching the Battlestar Galactica series. It is my number one all-time. I believe it is the best television show ever made. But should you go back and watch the original 78, 79 series? With Richard Hatch, Dirk Benedict, the great Canadian kid Lorne Greene as Admiral Adama. You know what? My first reaction, Willow, my first gut reaction was to say, no, you don't need to watch it. But a part of the kick that I got out of watching the new Battlestar Galactica and Ronald Moore's in 2004, 2005 was seeing how they did things in the new one as compared to the old one. You know what? I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Battlestar Galactica original series, it was only lasted one season. You know what? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to suggest yes. Watch the original series first. You don't have to, by any stretch of the imagination, but the more I'm thinking about the experience I had watching the new series because of the old one, you know what? Go ahead and watch the original series first. Go ahead and watch that. And then go and watch another one, because it might add another layer to you. So interesting question, Willow, and I'm going to say yes. Let's see. G. Samut writes, favorite 10 of all time. 10, Batman versus Superman. I like Batman versus Superman. Number 9, The Kitchen. Oh, I hated that movie. I'm not going to lie to you. I hated that movie. I wanted to like it so much, but you're not alone. I know a few other people that liked it, so good on you for having that on your list. Number 8, Jack and Jill. I'm starting to wonder if this is being supposed to be sarcastic. Number 7, Titanic. Number 6, Independence Day. Number 5, Harry Potter. Number 4, The Godfather. Number 3, The Room. The Room? Number 2, Matrix. And number 1, Rocky. That is such a weird mix. Some of those films, some people would consider amongst the worst films of all time, but you got it in there as your best. And you know what? That just reaffirms the greatness of the subjectivity of film. We all see these films. We all have different lists, and you've got a couple on there I'd never put on mine. But that's the great thing about being movie fans, is that all of our lists look different, and yours looks very unique, so good on you. All right, Harry Mudd writes, I love Stand By Me. That was a great little film. It's such a great departure by Stephen King. Have you seen it, John and Rob? Well, Rob's not here today. Yeah, oh, yeah, of course I've seen it. Yeah. And it's amazing, like, you go back now and watch it, it's like, holy crap, look at that guy as a kid. Because, you know, a lot of these kid actors then grew up to be recognizable faces today. No, really, it is a sweet, funny, charming little film. And yeah, no, Stand By Me is actually a movie that's got a special place in my heart. So yeah, dude, I love that one. I'm glad you brought that one up. All right, Imperfect Comic writes, hi, John. Mysterio is alive, I think. When he's got shot by the drone on the bridge, wasn't that a hologram? After Peter takes back the glasses, Mysterio suddenly clenches his stomach and falls down. I think he's dead, but again, Marvel fake death universe. I mean, honestly, I think it's the Marvel fake death universe. So sure, but it doesn't matter because Marvel can't use him anymore because he's under the Spider-Man license. Mysterio is under the Spider-Man's license, which means Sony controls him. And Sony's just going to pretend that the events of Far From Home probably just didn't happen. So they could bring him back, I suppose. But again, it's like it's the Marvel fake death universe. You can say about any character. They could just BS it and say, oh, now they're alive because of this. And it doesn't matter. They can come up with any excuse they want to say why they're alive. They can say, oh, look, Gamorra's back. But she was dead. Yeah, but they got her from another timeline. So it's totally different. No, it's not. Gamorra was gone and now Gamora's back. Marvel cinematic fake death universe. Loki was gone. Oh, but it's a Loki from a different... No. Loki was gone for a third time, and for a third time, he's back. It's just the Marvel... Oh, no, Nick Fury died. Oh, look, he's back by the end of the movie. It's just... Oh, no, Thor died. Oh, wait, but the hammer threw to his hand. Now he's alive. Oh, no, Black Panther died. Oh, we're in the third act of the movie. Now he's back. Oh, no, this guy... It's the Marvel fake death universe. So, of course... It's like, no, Mysterio's dead, but of course they could bring him back and make up any kind of BS excuse they want. But then again, keep in mind, he can't be in Marvel, so who knows what they're going to do with that moving forward. Imperfect. All right, K Major writes, you heard it here first, folks. John wants us to cut up theater No, I do not. John wants us to cut up theater seating. Riots at the theaters ensue. John at home like, that escalated quickly. Yeah, one of the things we're talking, of course, about the horrible trend in movie theaters to make audiences wait longer and longer after the movie advertised start time to actually start the movie. So what happened was somebody wrote in and said, that where they live, I believe it's in the UK, they said sometimes they wait between 30 and, get this, 50 minutes for their movie to start after the advertised start time. And what I said in response to that was, I think I would pull out a pocket knife and start tearing up the seats. And then I caught myself and say, guys, just to be clear, I am not encouraging or endorsing that behavior whatsoever. I'm just saying, don't do that. So anyway, K Major's poking a little bit of fun at me. Okay. Brandon Blake writes, Smallville was cheesy at times, but if you get beyond that and look at the characters, they nailed many of them, particularly Lex, Lois, and Jonathan. Well, what do you mean nailed them? They did their own interpretation of them and did great interpretations. But usually when you say they nailed a character, that means they made them just like the way the character is in another medium. And I would say they didn't do that. They didn't do that. But they did a great job making Lex's own character. They made Lois her own character. They made Lana her own character. They made Clark his own character. And, I remember it brought up, there was a lot of debate going on around when they were making Superman Returns, and they casted Brandon Routh, and a lot of people were very angry, saying, Tom Welling as Superman. Why didn't you cast Tom Welling as Superman? Because, and I remember my argument at the time, which was totally correct, by the way, was you can't cast Tom Welling because this is Superman. It's not Smallville the movie. Smallville, look, as much as I like Smallville, and I've watched every episode of Smallville. I really, really enjoyed Smallville, but Smallville was not Superman. Smallville was its own, if you will, Elseworld kind of story. It is so out of canon with everything we know about Superman from the comics. It's not really Superman. It's a look, let's tell our own iteration of a Superman story. And let's start with looking at his life in Smallville and all this kind of stuff that happens. And it's completely out of canon with what we know from the main story. And my argument was at the time, which was totally valid, was that they're making a Superman movie, not a Smallville the movie. And if you're making a Superman movie, then you can't get Tom Welling. And I remember saying that at the time. But within its own sphere, within its own universe, they did such a great job. And you're right. It wasn't, they made you get attached to the characters. From, Schneider as Pa Kent, as Jonathan Kent, Tom Welling as Clark, the young Canadian girl, I keep forgetting her name, who played Lana Lang, who is one of the most stunningly beautiful girls on television ever. And I can't remember her name. I don't know why it's eluding me, but good Canadian girl. To their interpretation of Lois, to, Sam Witwer was on the show for a while. He was Doomsday. They just made you love the characters. I don't know that I'd say they nailed the characters because they weren't trying to make it something that was from something else. They made them their own characters and they did such a great job. And I think that's why a lot of us got attached to the show. Anyway, that's my thought. All right, let's see here. Alpha writes, having trouble sleeping, ask your doctor about Ad Astra. Yep. I went to go see Ad Astra. What? Oh my God, that movie's so dull. So dull. I'm happy for everybody else that likes it. And if you like it, that's great. I wish I had your experience. Anyway, Unbeatable writes, I'm pretty sure soon in the near future, we're going to have to watch an ad to answer a phone call and turn off our alarm in the morning. You're not far off, man. The intrusion of ads on everything, which is really interesting because advertisers, what has always been the number one way to advertise things? Television. But more and more, people are going to add less television. Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, more and more people are watching their television without ads. So more and more, these advertisers are looking for different avenues to advertise their products. And by the way, God bless advertisers. Advertisers make the world go round. They make like your favorite website, advertisers are the one that keeps your favorite website alive. For most of our favorite network television, advertisers keep your favorite network television alive. Your favorite magazine, whether it's a digital one or whatever, advertisers make your favorite digital magazine possible. YouTube channels, advertisers make your favorite YouTube channels possible. God bless advertisers. But we are entering into an era where they're going to have to start to scramble to find new avenues for their advertising, because television is losing it more and more. Like less and less television is doing advertising at all. So it's going to be interesting to see how that comes over. You're right, man. I mean, to answer this call, just first enjoy this 5-second thing for, I don't know, Cialis. I don't know what, but you're probably not far off, dude. All right, James Welsh writes, since he is part of Supergirl, chances they bring back Dean Cain's Superman. Hey, look, I did say no to Tom Welling, and they did. At this point, you can't count out anything, because remember, Dean Cain was already in there, so why not bring him back? I mean, Brandon Routh isn't Superman in the CW, he's Adam. And yet they're going to be making him Superman. So Dean Cain is already part of that universe because of Supergirl, but I mean, they've done it with Brandon Routh. Why can't they do it with Dean Cain? So I'm still going to say unlikely, but hey man, if they bring in Tom Welling, why not Dean Cain? Hector Figueroa writes, let's talk Sly Stallone movies. That's an interesting one. My 10. Over the Top, the arm wrestling trucker movie. Number 9, Cobra. Number 8, Tango and Cash. Number 7, Rambo First Blood. I'd put that one way higher. Anyway, number 6, Judge Dredd. Didn't like that Judge Dredd. Number 5, Demolition Man. Number 4, Assassin's not a bad little movie, actually. Number 3, Cliffhanger. I really like Cliffhanger. That doesn't get enough. Number 2, Rocky 3. Number 1, Rocky. Actually, I think Rocky 1 is my favorite Rocky. Not Rocky 1, Rocky 4. The one with Ivan Drago. That one, to me, is probably my favorite Rocky movie. I would move First Blood up that list, like 3 or 4 spots, personally. But that's good. You're the first person to write in, Hector, to give us a top 10 Sylvester Stallone, which is appropriate because, of course, Last Blood is in theaters right now. So thanks for sharing that, dude. That was some good thinking. All right. Where are we at? We're at Clay Woodley, who writes, my top 10 favorite action films in no particular order. Number 2, Terminator 2, Die Hard, The Matrix, Speed, Point Break, Casino Royale, The Bourne Ultimatum, Fast 5, John Wick 3, and Mission Impossible Fallout. That's a good list, by the way. That's a good list, man. The one you're missing, my number 1 all-time favorite. Actually, you're missing my number 1 and my number 2 all-time favorite action films. So my number 1 all-time favorite action film, some of you know what I'm going to say, is True Lies. James Cameron, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Arnold, and of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Charlton Heston, by the way, was also in there. You really screwed the pooch. Anyway, all-time favorite action film. Number 2 all-time favorite action film, Aliens. You bitch. I love Aliens. But man, seriously, that's a good list, dude. Good on you, Clay. All right, Adam Douglas writes, maybe it's just me, but I'm really looking forward to The Aeronauts. I really like the new trailer that was released this morning, 90% currently on Rotten Tomatoes. I did not see the new trailer. You know what? First of all, you've got a stunning cast, and I'm forgetting who's directing it. Hold on a second. The Aeronauts. There we go. I know there's a new trailer, but I have not seen it yet. Who's directing? That's Tom Harper. Directed it. Now, Tom Harper has directed such films as he just did the TV series Electric Dreams. Forgot about that. That's where I know him from. He's directed a number of episodes of Peaky Blinders. He directed the TV movie The Borrowers. He directed what was it? That there's one I'm thinking of, but I guess I'm thinking of the wrong guy on that one. But I remember they talked about him, that he directed some stuff from the Peaky Blinders. Anyway, just looking at the cast, right? You got Felicity Jones, you got Eddie Redmayne, you got this, loosely based on a true story thing, big adventure, hot air balloon, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's kind of cool. It seems like a theatrical kind of film, but I believe they're doing it on Amazon, right? I might be wrong about that. I think this one's being released on Amazon. But I like the first trailer. I haven't seen the second one yet, Adam, but it's one that truly does have my attention. So thanks for sharing that, dude. All right. Todd S. writes, Ryan Reynolds needs to be Green Lantern in CW Crisis. I'm in. Sign me up. I'll endorse it. I'll endorse it completely. The Sock writes, Saw Loose. Wow, what a fantastic movie. Was everything I hoped for. Hardly ever buy movies, but that'll be one that I buy. Hold on a second. Oh, which one's Loose again? Is that the one with Naomi Watts? Hold on a second. Come on. There it is. Yeah, Octavia Spencer, Naomi Watts, Tim Roth. I mean, it's got a great cast and all that kind of stuff. I have not seen it. Or anything like that. So, but I'm glad you like it. Actually, to be honest with you, I haven't heard anybody talk about it yet. Not that I can remember, but I mean, if you liked it that much, dude, I'm going to keep that on my radar. All right. Murray Reich writes, I just want to say after a hard day at work, I started to watch your epic rant on trailer ads. It immediately made my day. I fell off my chair. Well, thank you so much. Look, I will admit, I got a couple of complaints from people, and you know what? Our first reaction is to go, screw you for complaining. But, I think that the people who complain made a slightly valid point. Maybe, look, I'm Italian, all right? I get a little emotional on things that get me upset. And maybe I was a little too vulgar. Maybe. But it wasn't scripted. I was honestly just talking off the cuff. And it came out that way. But to anybody, I will say this, to anybody that my rant, I guess, offended or made uncomfortable because of like how I use some profanity and stuff like that, I will try to cut back on that a little bit. It's not necessary. So I do apologize. But yeah, man, that issue burned, because for those of you who've watched me for any period of time, you know that this has been a big issue for me about the movie going experience, right? This has been a big issue for me about the movie going experience, is that theaters are consistently making it a worse and worse experience and adding all the trailers and all it makes me upset, because I believe they are driving people away from the movies. And that pisses me off. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it all again. Anyway, Murray writes, imagine the next thing Regal pulls out of their asses is playing a 30-second ad every 15 minutes during the movie runtime, kind of like YouTube does. Listen, I am not kidding. I have a fear of that happening. That at some point, the movies are going to do that. That we now take a break in this feature to present you a word from our sponsor. I'm not kidding. I fully expect within the next 3 years, someone's going to try to do that. It's a nightmare, but someone might try to do it. All right, Matsiv Jada writes, Between Two Ferns movie sadly disappointing and uneven. Oh, I didn't know it was out yet. See, that's the thing. I remember when we watched the trailer for Between Two Ferns, I said, the Between Two Ferns parts look funny, but everything outside of the celebrity interviews looked dumb to me. So I didn't know it was out yet, but I'm definitely going to check it out. But thank you for giving that, because that's exactly what I was worried about, Matsiv. But I'll check it out regardless and see what it looks like. The Sock writes, also saw Lord of the Rings for the first time. Samwise is the most brave and loyal character, man. That moment when he's climbing the tower to rescue Frodo, so cool. No, seriously, there are video essays that the whole point of some video essays is that Samwise Gamgee is the hero of Lord of the Rings. And you can make an argument for that. I'm not saying I completely agree, but you can make an argument about Samwise Gamgee being the hero of Lord of the Rings. And certainly a devoted, loyal friend, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's all great. Hold on a second. Oh my goodness, guys, it's just somebody sent this to me. Let me bring this up here. Apparently, this is breaking. Lois and Clark are reuniting. Erica Durance, who played Lois Lane in Tom Welling's Smallville, apparently she's coming to the Crisis crossover as well. This isn't some, cosmic book news or anything. This is TV line. Let's see. Lois and Clark are rising with the news that Erica Durance will join Smallville, co-star Tom Welling in the Arrow vs. Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. TV Line has learned that Durance is on board to reprise her role as Lois Lane, guest starring in multiple episodes of the 5-part event. As mentioned with Thursday's announcement that Tom Welling will play Clark Kent in the crossover, viewers will see where these characters are almost 10 years after Smallville ended. So that's going to be exciting for some of you guys, right? That's it. Now, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Erica Durance already play another character in the Arrow? For some reason, I've got it itching in the back of my head that she was already playing one of the characters in the show. I can't remember, but I've got that in the back of my head somewhere that anyway. But hey, so does Brandon Routh. Brandon Routh plays Adam, and now he's going to be Superman. So there you go. A little bit of breaking news for you guys. Anyway, Sock, you're right. Samwise was a great character in that movie. All right. Licardo writes, my favorite 80s movies, Batteries Not Included. You know what? I have been shocked, Licardo, how many people have been mentioning Batteries Not Included. I honestly, if you had asked me like a few months ago before people started writing in their top lists, I never would have thought that anybody would mention Batteries Not Included. I adore the movie. I think it's a super charming little movie, but I didn't think anybody even remembered it. So I'm super happy to see how many people listen. Anyway, Batteries Not Included, Daryl, Max Duggan Returns. Really, Duggan Returns. The Last Starfighter is so good. They're still talking about doing a reboot of that. Cocoon with Wilford Brimley. Footloose. Thanks for the show. Well, thank you, man. That is a great list, dude. For 80s movies, great idea. Great list. I haven't heard anybody mention Cocoon up until this point. All right, the Sock writes, did you see my email? I can't remember. I get hundreds of email every day, Sock. Sorry about that. I can't remember off the top of my head. Lady J writes, do movies today still do voiceover post-production like in older films? Oh, yes. Or is the dialogue we hear in the movie actually taken during shooting? It's a mix. But no, ADR is what they call it. ADR is a part of every movie process. As a matter of fact, just the other day, there was an indie film that Erin was in that she actually shot like a year ago, but then just a couple of weeks ago had to go in to do her ADR. Now, I believe there's probably a bunch of the footage or a bunch of audio is captured while they shoot, but sometimes it's impossible, depending on the environment, to get the right audio, and ADR is just part of the movie making process. Hell, even my little cheap ass movie that I did, my anniversary movie, even for that, I had to do ADR. And we had great sound people, but that's just something you got to do sometimes. Okay, let's see. Dominic Francis writes, 2 years late, but watched Coco. Glorious film. Best Pixar since Toy Story 3. Energetic and heartfelt. I cried so much at the end. Stunning animation. I'll tell you what, that was the movie. Coco was the one to me that said, screw it, I am never doubting Pixar again. Because I've doubted Pixar several times. It's like, Up doesn't look all that good. So good. Wall-E doesn't look all that good. So good. Coco didn't look all that good to me. I remember, like, in the week leading up to it, I'm like, I still don't know what to think of this. Really? This looks kind of dumb. Oh, my God. My wife was a weepy mess. Coco. Anyway, it's beautiful and heartfelt and all that kind of, it's just such a gorgeously done movie. I love, and not my favorite Pixar film, but it's yet another amazing triumph for Pixar. Such a gorgeous, gorgeous movie. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Dominic. All right. Ben Rayner writes, John, my over-under has gone from 35% to 5% of Tom Welling coming back. I was hoping but thinking it would never happen. When I found out yesterday, I lost it. Yeah, I think a lot of people got really excited when they heard that news. And again, I was one of the people, I didn't think it was going to happen. I really didn't. just based on it doesn't seem to make sense, and on top of the fact that, we've heard him basically say that this was going to be unlikely. And so people would ask me, do you think Tom Welling's come back? I'm like, nah, I don't think. I said, like, nothing's impossible. He could. I mean, he could come back, but I really don't think he will. Here we are. Tom Welling, ladies and gentlemen, reprising his role as Clark Kent. Chris Warden writes, WTF, John? We're just 4 months out from the 2020 Oscars, but it feels like yesterday that you were sitting in the old AMC studio talking about how stacked the upcoming movie slate for 2015 was. Yeah, time flies, man. Time flies. I actually remember me and Harloff were just talking a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about something that we had done, and it's like, my first thought that was like, yeah, that was like last year. And then I stopped and like, wait, that was like 3 years ago. And I talked about this the other day about how, it's just after Comic-Con that I was like, man, I've been doing this for over a year now. Like ever since I broke out to be on my own, I've been doing this for like over a year now. Wow. Then I stopped like, whoa, wait, actually it's been 2 years. It was 2 years ago that I broke out on my own. Oh my God. And it's crazy, Chris, dude. I'm telling you, time flies, my friend. Time flies. All right. James Wheeler writes, good morning, John. Good morning, James. After listening to the news story about Cinemark and Regal increasing the running time of ads, I decided to cancel my Cinemark Movie Club subscription and let them know this. Seriously, listen, James, I am not calling for a boycott. I am not anything like that. But I believe if you go to a Regal Cinema or if you go to a Cinemark Cinema, you've got to let them know you do not approve of this. And you know what? I applaud your stance, James, to take that one step further and cancel your membership. But if you're going to do that, let them know why. Don't just cancel your membership. Let them clearly know why. Now, some people are going to be in a position that they got no choice. I mean, like if the only theater near you is a Regal and you don't have any other real viable options, then you're just going to have to grin and bear it. But never stop letting Regal know you're unhappy about it. But for some people and for some things, it's going to have to go a little bit further because they're going to have to actually see people stop spending their money on them to make them really wake up, because that's the language they hear. And it's a business, I understand that. So this is the language they should hear. I understand that. But that's the language they hear. So I'll tell you what, James, I applaud your stance. I'm not saying everybody needs to do that. I'm not sitting here calling for a boycott or anything like that. But we got to let these studios know that this is not acceptable. This is bullshit. And hats off to you, James, for putting your money where your mouth is and saying, you know what, screw you. If you think so little of me and you think my time is completely useless and doesn't matter, then I'm going to take my time and my business elsewhere. So see ya. I mean, that's what we got to do. It's what we got to do. And yeah, anyway, but again, to each their own, however you decide to choose, it's up to each individual to choose how you want to deal with that situation. All right. And you deal with it the way you see fit. But I just got to say, James, I applaud your particular stance, sir. All right. Satan Beelzebub writes, busy few weeks for me. I was Disney's Spidey negotiator. I sold commercials to Regal and Sony paid me to add 8 useless minutes to Far From Home. You're welcome. Satan, ladies and gentlemen, Satan, hard at work. So I got to tell you that's funny. I was Disney's Spider negotiator, and I sold 8 minutes of commercials to Regal and Sony. That's good. That's good. I'm going to be thinking about that. I'm going to think about that all day and giggle every time I think about it. Okay. Andy Mac 96 writes, seen The Damned United by Tom Hooper. You know what? I have not. Michael Sheen and Timothy Spall. Great soccer management film. Would enjoy even if you don't like soccer. Well, listen, if it's directed by Tom Hooper, then I believe I will. This dude directed The King's Speech, which I adore. He directed the Hugh Jackman Les Mis, which I adore. He is directing the upcoming Cats. The trailer looked terrible, but you got to believe the movie's probably going to be great because he's directing it. So that sounds intriguing. I'll keep my eye open for that, Andy. Thank you for the heads up. All right, Jersey Kid writes, watch the John Campea Show every day with my 5-year-old daughter. She obsesses now after school. Instead of, hi, Daddy, I get put on John Campea. Should I be worried? Film buff in the making. Well, Jersey, you see, It's little statements like that that really make me feel like a jackhole. Because it's you telling me that your 5-year-old daughter will watch this show. Makes me feel sheepish about, say, the rant yesterday. And you know what? To be honest, I do got to keep in mind. I mean, this is YouTube. I can say and do whatever I want. And it's my show. I can do whatever I want. But I think, well, I will never guarantee that I won't swear in this show. I think what is fair is that I need to keep in mind or try to be cognizant of the fact that not just that there are younger audiences who also watch the John Campea Show, but I've gotten email from a number of people like you, Jersey, who tell me that they love watching the show with their kid. That I get told all the time from people saying, hey, I watch the show with my 10-year-old, or I watch the show with you. My 8-year-old watches it with me. And I need to keep that in mind. Even when I'm getting upset and hooting and hollering and ranting and raving about movie theaters taking advantage of our time and all that kind of stuff, I think it is fair to say, I need to try to remain cognizant that out there's some 32-year-old dude watch the movie with his 7-year-old daughter. And I got to keep that in mind. So you totally just sent me in a great compliment, Jersey, and I thank you for that. And I think that's awesome. But it also makes me feel a bit like a jackhole because of that. It is something I'm going to try to keep in mind moving forward. And don't get me wrong, I was not flooded by any stretch of imagination with complaints or anything. No. But I had one or two people mention it to me. And the thing is, you know what? Sometimes you get criticism and you realize, you know what? That's legit. That's legit. That's legit criticism. And it is something I'm going to try to be more cognizant of. Again, I'm not promising and saying I'll never swear or anything like that. But I did. Boy, I really let my emotion get the better of me yesterday. So I'll try to keep that in mind, Jersey. But anyway, thanks for sharing that, dude. That was really kind of you. All right, Benny95 writes, here in Australia, we've had commercials play plus trailers for years, and it sucks. We also don't have an AMC Movie Pass option either here, which also sucks. Well, remember, Benny, this is still a relatively new thing. It'll come. Whatever movie market you live in, it will come. Because I believe, while they still have some kinks they need to work out, this whole movie membership thing is the way of the future and can save the movie industry. I really believe that. And it is the most glorious thing, but keep in mind, it's still really brand new. I mean, Regal just launched theirs just now. Like in Cineworld, it's been around a long time, but in North America, it's really just a new thing. So I have no doubt, Benny, that it'll get out to you guys, but you guys got to be vocal but to your theaters as well, that you don't accept the amount of trailers and ads that they show before movies. You got to let them know you're not happy with it. Dico Suave writes, just saw headlines that Apple may be buying Sony. Yeah, I wouldn't listen to it. No, I would not listen to that at all. Here's the basic thing. There is a shareholder. Look, I'm oversimplifying it. Go read the story for yourself. I am oversimplifying this and all that kind of stuff. Hold on, let me just pull up the... I am drastically oversimplifying this. But there are some big bullshit stories out there right now being run by the two biggest culprits of fake news out there right now, which is Cosmic Book News and We Got This Covered. Like I keep telling everybody, never send me a story that comes, John, did you hear reports about this? And I'm like, where'd the report come from? Oh, from there? Yeah, don't pay attention to it. Anyway, so... And I'm oversimplifying this. But just go read the full story yourself. But here's the basics. This is quick Coles notes, okay? One of the shareholders of Sony is interested in having Sony sell the movie and entertainment division off, possibly to a buyer like Apple. However, here's the thing. The board of Sony doesn't want to do that. And the CEO of Sony does not want to do that. Now, a couple of years ago, Sony went through a massive leadership change. just a couple of years ago. Now, the former CEO of Sony didn't have that big of an opinion about their entertainment, particularly their movie division. For many years, just saw that as a side business. They didn't really care about it all that much. But just a couple of years ago, they installed a brand new CEO at Sony, and that brand new CEO loves their movie division and has made several statements about movies is our future. And he's committed to their movie division. The movie division at Sony is not for sale. It's not for sale. And all these stories you hear running around, what that comes from is this one nugget of fact that there is somebody, one of the shareholders at Sony is interested, wants Sony as a company to consider selling off the entertainment division, but the board doesn't want to do that. The CEO doesn't want to do that. It's not happening. Now, that being said, I can say, this is a button. I don't know why I've got this sitting around here. This is a button that Ann and I got at Disneyland. We just went in and we said it was because we went for our anniversary. I got this a while ago. Went for our anniversary. And they gave us this button. It said happily ever after with 2 Mickey and Minnie shaped rings intertwined. Isn't that sweet? And it's got some sentimental value to me. Now, if you come up to me and say, hey, I'd like to buy that button off you, I'd say, you know what? This has got sentimental value to me. So I'm not going to sell this button. But then you say to me, I'll give you $25,000 for that button. I'm like, sold. Here you go. So look, Sony right now, the official position of Sony is simply this. There is no sale. The Sony CEO has no desire to part with the movie division. Let's just be clear about that. That is why these stories about, like, listen, there's a story on Cosmic Book News. Spider-Man deal on hold because of Apple possibly buying Sony. That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. Same thing. We got this covered. Spider-Man deal reportedly on hold due to Apple possibly buying Sony. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. That's why these stories are coming from these places and not from Forbes and not from the Hollywood Reporter and not from Variety and not from Deadline. That's why it's coming from there and nowhere else. Don't pay any attention to that. Now, again, like I said, the Sony CEO can say, I am fully committed to the movie division moving forward. He said that's a priority for them. But so that's his button. The Sony movie division is his button. And it is possible that, as I could say, this isn't for sale. I'll give you $25,000. Done. It is possible. It's within the realm of possibility that at some point you could have the idea of the Sony CEO saying, the movie division is not for sale. I am committed to this division. I've got a vision for this division. We are going to move into the future with our movies. And then Apple comes up and says, we'll give you $75 billion for it. Sold! But that's not going to happen. So don't pay any attention to this. Don't pay any attention to this. Is it absolutely impossible? No. It's not absolutely impossible. It's absolutely not impossible that I'm going to buy Sony Pictures tomorrow. But it's highly unlikely. So I really would not pay any attention to this. This is coming from websites that put out false headlines all the time. It just... Again, once Deadline and the Hollywood Reporter and Variety, once in Coming Soon and whatever, once they start running these headlines, then maybe pay attention to it. If it's ever coming from these sources, just ignore it. Just ignore it. And again, I'm not saying, I always want to be very clear about this. I'm not saying a site like Cosmic Book News isn't a good site. I'm not saying something like We Got This Covered isn't a good site. I'm not saying they don't have great fun communities on there and they don't have some good editorial and they don't have some good discussion and insightful, perspectives on things. I'm not saying they're not great sites to visit and be a part of. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is whenever breaking news comes from one of those sources, ignore it. Just ignore it. Because every day some blockbuster fake I'm not kidding. Every single day, a blockbuster fake headline comes out of We Got This Covered that never works out. So I'm just saying, just don't ever send me anything where that's the thing. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. So that's my thing on that. Anyway, let's keep on going here. Let's see. Regal Cinema writes, as CEO of Regal, I'd like to clear up some misconceptions. Yes, we will be slapping you in the face with our dong, but it will be soft, velvety dong. Thanks. Yep. By the way, did you guys see, I don't know. Let me see if I can pull this up. I'm not sure if I can or not. I think I can. Somebody put this in our Discord. Of course, Discord right now is for our Patreons only. But somebody made a screen image of this when Aaron Cummings said on the show, no dick slapping in this house. Yep. So I personally want to thank the CEO of Regal for personally taking responsibility. Obviously, this is not really Regal. For personally taking responsibility and writing that in. So anyway, but it will be a soft, velvety dong. That's how they do it. Thanks for that, man. All right, Harry Mudd writes, I have a message. Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake's plane was shot down over the Sea of Japan. It spun in. There were no survivors. Radar in MASH. That was one. You got to remember, MASH was a little bit before my time, but I watched the reruns and stuff. But that was back in a time when big main characters in TV shows did not die. And one of the main regular characters of MASH was leaving the show. And he was shipping out. And then Radar comes in and reports that they had died. That is not something that happened a lot in these big, people died in television shows, but not big main characters. And that was so, today with Game of Thrones and Sons of Anarchy and all that kind of stuff, don't get too attached to your favorite characters. But back in that day, it was a different thing. And that was a huge moment in television history. It really was. David Sickles writes, I love trailers. Could watch 20 to 30 minutes of them before every movie, but just went to see Ad Astra and they had ads 20 minutes past the showtime before the trailers. Yeah, look, I can't do 20 to 30 minutes. I'm good with trailers. I like about 10 minutes of trailers. 10 minutes of trailers is good for 4 trailers. Yeah, give me 4 trailers before a movie. Great. But this 25-minute plus thing of trailers is too much. But even then, like sheep, we go, bah, okay, yeah, sure, give me 20 minutes, give me 25, give me 30 minutes, bah, and they just keep shoving it in our mouths. But commercials? Oh my God, that just makes me furious, David. That makes me completely furious. Anyway, David also writes, thankfully, when I talked with theater staff, they informed me they were having some technical glitch that kept looping the ads, and it's not a new policy. Well, that's good. Hopefully they stick to that, David, because that'd be very concerning if they do not. All right. Alex Haina writes, number 10, The Wizard of Oz. Number 9, The Wolf of Wall Street. Number 8, Jaws. 7, Toy Story. 6, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, which, I always go back to. That is one of those movies that I said, this movie is a dumb idea. Why the hell are you making a movie based on a theme park ride? That is the dumbest thing ever. And I love that movie, man. It's the only of the Pirates movies that I love, but I love that first movie. So I'm glad you got that on there. Number 5, Whiplash. Number 4, Titanic. Good to see you got Titanic on there. Number 3, The Dark Knight. Number 2, Return of the King. And number 1, Forrest Gump. My wife, who is a Tom Hanks zealot, loves Forrest Gump. Now, here's the thing. In truth, I love Forrest Gump. I love that movie. In truth, I love that movie. However, I always have this little negative association with it because it did not deserve to win Best Picture the year it came out. Because the year it came out was the same year that Shawshank Redemption came out, which is one of the greatest motion pictures of all time. So I always have that one little angst of anger against Forrest Gump. But in truth and in reality, it is a brilliant film. It is a wonderful movie. Won Tom Hanks' second Academy Award, I believe, in a row. I think he won it because I think the year before he won his Oscar for Philadelphia. And then I think it might have been the very next year he won it again for that. But anyway, good to see your list there, Alex. All right. David Sickles writes, but I totally disagree with you on Ad Astra. My eyes were glued to the screen for the entire time. Thanks in part to Brad Pitt. Totally lives up to the hype. Hey, no, that's great. Like I said, I know there are many people who liked it, and I don't diss on that at all. If you enjoyed it, I celebrate it. If anything, I wish I had the same experience you did. Unfortunately for me, watching Ad Astra was just a dull thing. And made it even more disappointing, the fact that they had such great themes in there. high stakes, the fate of the universe and mankind, questions about extraterrestrial life and our individual places in the universe and how we connect with those around us. These great grand concept. And it just made the dullness of the film feel all the worse for me. So I don't blame you for loving that film, David, at all. If anything, I wish I had your experience. And you're not alone. A lot of people like this movie. A lot of you do. So I celebrate that you like that movie, David. I wish I did too, man. I really do. All right. 09 Bound X writes, "Hey, John, big fan. Thank you so much, 09. I have to say I really dug Ad Astra. I found it a way to tell a story about a man struggling with his void relationships with his father and him feeling isolated from connection." Oh, I agree. See, that's the funny thing here. I completely agree. The themes that they had in there were great. I just didn't feel it executed. And I'm not going to give anything away, but particularly the ending, like all of a sudden at the end, all of his problems are fixed. Now, I'm not going to go into how or what it is we're talking about, but those of you who've seen the movie know what we're talking about. Like, I agree. On a theoretical level, what they were going for and the themes they had and you know, all that stuff, I really, really thought those are great high-level stuff. I just felt like it put you to sleep trying to get there to convey it. But again, that's just me. A lot of people liked it, man. A lot of people liked it. All right, Casinema Reviews writes, "Coming this fall, Superman into the Superverse. It feels like it. Look, we've already got 3 in there. We got Tom Welling, we got Brandon Routh, and this Hoechlin guy, and I'm sure I'm butchering his last name. And then somebody mentioned else, you know, Dean Cain could come in too. Hell, why not? And why not get a pig in a Superman outfit too? I mean, you may not be far off here, Casinema, at all. All right, Alex Henya writes in and sends in a really big super chat. Thank you for that, Alex. Appreciate you supporting the channel on that level, brother. All right, my friends and I play a game. One of us names 3 movies that all have an actor in common. The rest of us have to figure out the actor. Let's play, shall we? All right. Quiz Show, Big Lebowski, and Rounders. Wow. What actor was in each of the movies? Now, I'm assuming it's not, the actor isn't some small, tiny little bit part in one of them that I won't even remember. So, the Big Lebowski, well, it's not Jeff Bridges. It's because Jeff isn't in Quiz Show or Rounders. It's not John Goodman. Is it... Why am I freezing on her name? She's one of the greatest actresses in the world. But I don't remember her being in Rounders. I'm going to look up... By the way, the movie I'm looking up right now is called The Kids Are All Right. Kids Are All Right. Julianne Moore. Okay. Is it Julianne Moore? I'm trying to remember if Julianne Moore popped up in Rounders or not. I don't think she did. But you know what? I'm going to cheat and look up now. I'm going to see if Julianne Moore was in Rounders. I don't... Was she? Something in my head is telling me she was. No, she wasn't. She wasn't in Rounders. You know what? So go to Quiz Show. It isn't Ralph Fiennes, because Ralph Fiennes isn't in Big Lebowski or Rounders, I don't think. I don't know. I'm stumped on that one, Alex. It's a good trivia question. I don't know that one. All right. Who Reacts writes, "My sons, 10 and 6 years old, are discovering Jim Carrey, the guy from Mr. Popper's Penguins." That's cool. Evolved to the funniest guy ever. They flipped for The Mask. Love The Mask. And the dog Milo in The Mask, and wanted your take on it / on Carrey. Well, I mean, look, Jim Carrey is a good Canadian kid. I think he's a genius comedic performer. I even loved him in the Burt Wonderstone, but what was the marvelous Burt Wonderstone, the wonderful Burt Wonderstone, the amazing Burt Wonderstone? I can't remember the exact title of it, but the one with Steve Carell and Steve Buscemi. Anyway, Jim Carrey kind of plays the antagonist in that, and I love him in that. A lot of people don't like that movie, and I love him in that. I think he's great. I like Jim Carrey, and I absolutely adore The Mask. Why? Because I gotta. And it made swing music popular. Like Cherry Poppin' Daddy's got, I'm convinced that Cherry Poppin' Daddy's got big for a while because of The Mask. That dance scene, and of course Cameron Diaz and all that kind of stuff. I love The Mask. Dude, absolutely love The Mask and Jim Carrey. All right, Gene Check writes, top 10, Superbad. I'm not a big Superbad. No, don't get me wrong. I like Superbad. I find it funny, but I don't love it nearly as much as most people do. So I think, Gene, you're going to see a lot of people put that on the list. Not really mine. Number 9, Aladdin, the animated version. Number 8, Toy Story. Number 7, Batman. Number 6, Django Unchained. Love that movie. Number 5, The Shining. Number 4, I'm surprised we don't see more of The Shining, to be honest, Gene. Number 4, Creed. Number 2, Clerks 2. Number 2, Return of the King. Number 1, Shawshank Redemption. Well, I gotta love those top 3. Clerks, I've been talking a lot about Clerks 2 lately and why that movie is so special to me, and it is my favorite Kevin Smith film. I love Clerks 2. That movie had a lot of heart amongst all of its donkey jokes. It's actually got a lot of heart. But obviously, you know me, Shawshank Redemption may be the greatest film ever made. Shawshank Redemption may simply be the greatest film ever made. I love that. And of course, you got Return. Really nice thing. And then you're throwing in things like Shining and stuff like that. Good on you, man. Good to see that list, dude. All right. Min Tran writes, they say nothing is impossible, but I do nothing all the time. Wasn't that Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin? They say nothing is impossible, but I do nothing all the time. That sounds like it's from Winnie the Pooh in the movie Christopher Robinson. I think that's where it's from. I could be wrong, but I think that's where it's from. All right. Who Reacts writes, Henry, my 6-year-old, loved Casper, the first movie with CG character in the main role. He was zoned in an amazing way and emotional. First happy movie tears. Oh my God. You know what? I don't even remember the movie. I mean, I know the movie and I know I saw it, but I mean, it was a while ago. I don't even remember a simple thing about it. I don't remember a single thing about it. Yeah. I just remember there being the Casper movie. I remember seeing the Casper movie. I only ever saw it once. I don't even remember that. But your 6-year-old loves it, and that's what's important, man. All right. Intergalactic writes, critic reviews be dames. It's Rambo, and I'm going. Well, remember, that's the thing. Critic reviews be damned. But the reality is, hold on a second. The fact of the matter is, like you say, I don't agree with the critics. Well, which critics don't you agree with? Because like last I checked, about half of them like it. So are you saying you don't agree with the half that liked it? Or are you saying you don't agree with the half that didn't like it? I'm just curious. And again, not a great movie, but it's a movie of the simple pleasures. Seeing Rambo do terrible things to terrible people makes the world feel right. It's viscerally satisfying, and I got a kick out of it. I hope you enjoy it, Intergalactic. But just remember, it's not a great movie. I should be clear on that, but it is viscerally satisfying. All right, Nosferatu writes, I bring scientist, you bring a rock star. Oh crap! I feel like I know that one. I bring a scientist, you bring a rock. I can't remember. Can't remember that one, Nosferatu. I'm stumped on that one. T2 Productions writes, no, that's just what you were led to believe. He was killed by the CIA for selling smack to Nazis. Again, can't remember off the top of my head. Tristan Vargas writes, saw Ad Astra at AMC last night, and amazingly, I only sat through 13 minutes of trailer. Wow! Which I honestly have no idea the last time that happened. Really? Lucky you. Lucky you. I went into the theater 20 minutes late and still had over 10 minutes of trailers. Wrap your head around that. I went into the theater for Ad Astra 20 minutes late, and I still had to sit there through 10 full minutes of trailers. It's unbelievable. 13, dude, you lucked out, my friend. You lucked out. I hope you enjoyed the movie, by the way. Who Reacts writes, one of two. Daddy's turn. You're my favorite thing, Peter. My very favorite thing from Fringe. My favorite show. Watch it just after my first son was born. Best show about fathers and sons. At the perfect time in my life. Get emotional just thinking about it. John Noble acting genius. No Emmy nom? Crazy. John Noble was great in that show. And that's why I got so excited that after Fringe was done, he went on and did that little show with Ichabod Crane. Oh, what was the name of the show with Ichabod Crane? Sleepy Hollow. That was it. where the first couple of seasons of Sleepy Hollow I really liked, and then their last season was just awful. Anyway, John Noble became a semi-regular on that series as well, and I loved him in that. I really like John Noble. Of course, whenever I think of John Noble, the first guy I think about is the Steward of Gondor. So being in Lord of the Rings, he of course was in Lord of the Rings. And by the way, if you love Fringe, you should be watching Mindhunter, because the lead girl from Fringe is the lead girl in Mindhunter, and she's great in that show as well. And that was a show that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed Fringe quite a bit. I'm glad you did too, man. All right, let's see here. Motion writes, I watched The Exorcist last night. Pretty scary, but very outdated, a little bit. Do you think it should have been remade? Well, they did kind of remake it into a TV series. It was sort of remade. What's the scariest movie you've ever seen? Oh, that's easy for me. And those of you who've been watching for a while, you know what I'm going to say. It is still to this day the one movie I cannot watch alone in the dark. At night, I should say. I cannot watch this movie alone in the dark at night. I can't do it. And that's American Werewolf in London. Not to be confused with American Werewolf in Paris, which was terrible. But the original American Werewolf in London to this day is the scariest movie I've ever seen. That movie terrifies me. It's the only... No movies scare me. That movie scares me. And that's the one that for me still stands that test, my friend. All right, Koba writes, while unlikely, any chance Crisis has any DCU actors appearing in it? I said that we weren't going to see Tom Welling, so take this with a grain of salt, but no. I mean, they've always been very, very firm in saying they were never going to cross over their movie and television world. At least that's what they've said. They've made that very clear and very plain that they are never crossing over their movie and television worlds. That's what they said. Could they break that? They could. I mean, lots of people say one thing once and then later change their minds. So it's possible. I would think very, very unlikely, because they seem to have been very firm on that. At least they appeared to be very firm on that we are never crossing these over. Okay. But you never know. You never know. All right. Dark Scorn just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Darth. Appreciate that, man. Jay Bling writes, I'm repeating a super chat that was answered by Rob on your behalf while you were ill. He said, deep down, you're a sappy romantic. While I don't doubt this, I want your surface level response. I have a strong hunch this isn't your cup of tea, but I watched Can You Keep a Secret? Oh, that's the one with, first of all, it's got Superman, Tyler Hoechlin, which I know I'm butchering his last name, and the girl... from San Andreas, and she was in, why am I forgetting her name? Maybe you mentioned it. Can You Keep a Secret? Alexandra Daddario, there it is. It's a rom-com cliche of AF, but Daddario's charming AF in it. Listen, people hate romantic comedies. I happen to like romantic comedies. That doesn't mean I like all romantic comedies. I certainly don't. But I'm a sucker for romantic comedies. Hence the Netflix movie, Always Be My Maybe. Right? Always Be My Maybe. I really enjoyed. I love that movie. I thought it was great. I'm a sucker for good romantic comedies. And I like Alexandra Daddario. And yeah. I will probably give it a shot. I do not know that I am a sappy romantic. I don't know that I would qualify myself as that, but I do like good romantic comedies. I do. And I think I'm probably going to check that one out, Jay. Thank you for the recommendation, my friend. And I love Alexander Daddario. Okay. Amy Berg writes, top 10. 10, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. 9, Frank. Number 8, Lion King. Nice. Number 7, Dag Ushnat. I don't know that one. Night and Day. I'm not familiar with that one. Number 6, Fish Tank. Number 5, Shame. A lot of people love Shame. You know, some people think that might have been Michael Fassbender at the height of his powers. I don't necessarily agree, but he is great on that. Number 4, Lolita. Number 3, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Number 2, In Bruges. One of Colin, if it wasn't for Saving Mr. Banks, I would say In Bruges was Colin Farrell's best performance ever. But I actually think, even though it's a smaller role in Saving Mr. Banks, I'll give that title that one, but I love In Bruges. And number 1, Schindler's List. It's a movie I love and respect so much, but I can never watch again because it's so good at what it does. Steven Spielberg executes that movie so perfectly, I can't watch it. Not again. It's just too heartbreaking, and it's just, it's one of the, but it's so good. Anyway, excellent, nice, diverse, mixed up list there. I mean, I love it. Well done. All right. ZMG Ruler writes, rumors circulating that Apple may be buying Sony. Just pay no attention to it. Jeff Knutson writes, Apollo 11 was great, and Ad Astra is not? Really? I found the main characters of both to be roughly the same, but the space scenes in this are better. I thought Apollo 11 had way more charisma, had way more dynamic to it, had much better cadence to it, and all that. Yeah, I disagree. Again, it's totally great that you had a different experience with it than me. But I just found it insufferably dull, just incredibly dull, and boring. And every line was read like this. My heart rate is this. I'm putting on my shoes. I just watched the Olympics. I'm going to get into my car today and drive over to the Apple store. Well, there was no dynamic range in the film. There was no cadence to the film. I don't know, but again, that's my experience with it. I just found it insufferably done. If you enjoyed it, Jeff, that's awesome. And as you read in this chat alone, there are others who like it too. Yeah, great. I wish I liked it. I was looking forward to it, but didn't work for me. All right. Anyway, Oscar Rosenwald writes, you mentioned recently you liked Stargate. I did, but they shouldn't reboot Universe. Would you be up for it, though, if they did, or maybe a new series? I'd be up for it if they wanted to reboot it. My argument, though, Oscar, about Universe was nobody watched it. Like, nobody watched it. And it wasn't bad. It's not like it completely sucked and therefore nobody watched it. So if we make it, but make it good, people will watch it this time. You had a good cast. I thought the concept was strong. It just, nobody watched it. So, like, would I personally tune in? Sure. Yeah, I would tune in. But I'd be alone. I mean, there'd be a few other people, but it's just, so if I was a studio executive, no. Because nobody was interested in it. But me as just a fan, if you said Universe was coming on tomorrow, would I check it out and watch it? Yeah, I'll check it out and watch it for sure. But there's not going to be a lot of us. That was the problem, Oscar. Harry Mudd writes, there was a CG dog poo in John Wick. It cost $5,000 to do. Really? Well, yeah, I could see it. CG can be expensive. You know what the funny thing is? Because whereas I bet if they did 10 shots, it wouldn't have been that much more expensive than that. It's just the way that CG works. Suthius writes, hey, Mr. C, Bean didn't die in National Treasure. Well, no, he didn't die in every movie. For example, The Martian. Sean Bean is in The Martian, and he doesn't die. He's actually alive at the end. I believe he's playing golf. I believe the last shot of him in The Martian is him. That's me doing my golfing motion. You can tell I'm not a golfer. The last shot of him in that movie is just him playing golf. Okay. Let's see here. 1.21 Gilowatts writes, hey, John, please thank the person who suggested And God Spoke, the biblical epic mockumentary, rented it on Google last night and had a great time. So somebody brought that up which, by the way, 1.21 Gilowatts, thank you for bringing that up, because one of the great things about when you guys make recommendations is that I clearly don't always have time to go watch those recommendations. But even if I don't, there are thousands of other people watching these shows that they go, I'm going to go check that out. 1.21 Gilowatts is a great example of that. I remember somebody laid out and explained this And God Spoke mockumentary. It sounds amazing to me. I've got to check it out at some point. So thank you for seconding their recommendation, Gilowatts. All right. Harsh Bade writes, biggest hit in December, Jumanji 2 or Rise of Skywalker. My money is on Jumanji 2 to outgross episode 9. Nope. Nope. I don't think so. But it's not as ludicrous as you might think, because the Jumanji movie, the first Jumanji movie made just over $900 million. Now, I mean, The Last Jedi made over $400 million more than it did, but still, Jumanji was like, here's the problem though. I didn't think the first trailer to this new Jumanji movie looked all that great. I love The Rock and I love the first Jumanji movie. I'm excited about it, but I don't think so. Anything's possible, but I honestly, I don't think this Jumanji movie is going to make as much as the last Jumanji movie. I really don't. I don't think it's going to make as much as the last one. I think it'll be a big hit. I think it'll make $700 to $800 million, but I actually don't think it's going to make 900 plus. I'm not guaranteeing it won't. Don't get me wrong. But I actually think there's a chance it doesn't even make as much as the last one. We'll have to wait and see. All right, C.K. Gould writes, John, I was wondering if you will be doing a sit-down interview with Mike Myers about his new film. Huh? I don't understand the question. Anyway, Man Mountain. Sorry, where'd we go? There's a big jump. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Mad Mountain Gherkin 23 writes, top 10 movie characters. Number 1, Indiana Jones. We haven't had anybody do a top 10 movie characters before. I like this. All right. Number 1, Indiana Jones. Number 2, Han Solo. A little bit of Harrison Ford love in there, I see. Number 3, Jean-Luc Picard. Number 4, Aragorn. Number 5, Mad Madigan. Number 6, Frank Aubrey. Number 7, Del Griffith. Number 8, Gandalf, white or gray. Number 9, Spock. Number 10, Jack Sparrow. That's a good list to put together. Favorite characters. I like that, man. Well done. And again, a little tip of the hat to the whole Harrison Ford love in there. He also follows up with, I meant Jack Aubrey, Master and Commander, which was played by Russell Crowe. That was the Russell Crowe character, right? That wasn't the Paul Bettany character. I'm pretty sure it was the Russell. You know what? Now I got to look it up. Master and Commander. Master and Commander, The Edge of the World. So that was, I believe it was the Russell Crowe character. There it is. Yes, Russell Crowe, Captain Jack Aubrey. That's right. It was him. Bettany played Stephen Maturin. I can't remember how they pronounce his last name in that. Anyway, well done. Darth Scorn writes, to me, the CW crossovers have always focused on fan service and not story. I'm ecstatic with every bit of info about Crisis. I disagree, Darth. I think there's definitely been elements of fan service in all of them, for sure. But this just feels like taking it to a new level. Now, they're just throwing everything in the kitchen sink in there, just dump trucking it in. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Be clear, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. This is the CW. That's what we expect from CW stuff, right? We expect a little schlocky, a little silly, a little this, a little that, because it's a CW thing. So we kind of expect that. All right. Let's see here. Last question of the day, guys, and then we got to wrap things up here because my throat's about to die on me here. Matthew Robinson writes, top 10, Captain Fantastic, speaking of Aragorn, Big Lebowski, Incendies. Somebody brought that up. We just talked about that. Moon, A Prophet, Lord of the Rings, American Psycho, The Basketball Diaries. I don't think anybody's brought up that's a Leo. That's a Leo movie. Basketball Diaries, Empire of the Sun, and Land of Mine. You know what? I'm not familiar with Land of Mine, or maybe I am. Let me just look it up here. Land of Mine is a 2015 film. I'm not familiar with it. Yeah, I'm not familiar with this one. And yet it's your favorite film of all time. It's always kind of cool when somebody's got a favorite film of all time that no one else has heard of. That's actually kind of cool. Anyway, that will do it for me, guys. For everybody from Ben Rayner, Suthius, Who Reacts, all the way down. Don't worry. We're going to gather up your questions, and your questions are going to get answered in the next companion video. So just keep your guys' eyes open for that. We just run out of time right now. But guys, thank you so much for being here today and for being a part of the John Campea Show. To all of you guys who are Patreon supporters, don't forget there is no post-show chat today, but there will be again on Monday, so we'll just jump back in there on Monday and we'll do the post-show chat on Monday. Also, thank you to all of you guys who are Patreon supporters. Thank you to all you guys who sent in questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel along the way, and we thank you for that. And just a thank you to all of you guys for being here and being a part of the film fan community. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today, guys. Have a fabulous, wonderful weekend. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.